Sometimes a single moment in history can completely change the course of a nation. And today, we're going to dive into one of those moments, the 1857 Indian Uprising. This was a huge, fiery rebellion against British rule that, even though it didn't succeed at the time, really planted the seeds for future independence. But how does something that massive even begin? Well, it often starts with something really small. And that brings us to the big question for today. What was that one spark that ignited what many now call India's first war of independence? And believe it or not, the answer starts with a rumor. Yep, just a single piece of information. Whether it was true or not didn't even matter. That spread like absolute wildfire and set the stage for this huge conflict. Okay, so to really get this, we first need to know who was right at the center of it all: the sepoys. Now, these were Indian soldiers serving in the army of the British East India Company, which was, for all intents and purposes, the power ruling huge chunks of India back then. So, what was this explosive rumor? It was pretty simple, really, that the new rifle cartridges the sepoys were being given were greased with animal fat. And here's the kicker. To load the rifle, you had to bite the end of the cartridge off. This rumor didn't just appear out of nowhere. It landed on the really dry tinder of all this resentment that had been building up for years. And the type of animal fat? Oh, that was the critical part. And here's why that was so devastating. For the Hindu sepoys, the cow is sacred. Consuming its fat would be a massive religious violation. At the same time, for the Muslim sepoys, the pig is considered unclean, so any contact with its fat would be just as offensive. Think about that. In one single move, this rumor managed to deeply offend the core religious beliefs of both major groups in the army. It was a perfect storm. So, as you can probably guess, some soldiers started refusing to use these cartridges. And things escalated fast. That one little spark didn't just smolder, no way. It erupted into a total inferno that swept right across northern India. It all kicked off on May 10th, 1857, in a city called Meerut. And from there, it just moved with incredible speed. First, the rebels marched to the historic capital of Delhi. Then, the fire spreads to other major cities like Kanpur, Lucknow, and Jhansi. It just goes to show you how quickly all that anti-British feeling could mobilize people into action. And you have to understand, this wasn't just some military mutiny. It quickly became a massive, widespread popular revolt. It brought together all kinds of different people from all walks of life who were united by one single goal: get rid of foreign rule. The people who joined this fight, it was an incredible coalition. You had these legendary leaders like Mangal Pandey, who was one of the very first martyrs. You had the fierce queen, Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi, and other major figures like Nana Sahib and Begum Hazrat Mahal. But here's what's so important. This fight wasn't just led by the elites. Not at all. It was the common people, the farmers, and the sepoys themselves who were the real backbone of the whole thing. But for all its passion, for all its scale, the revolt was, in the end, put down by the British. So that begs the question, right? Why? Why did this massive uprising ultimately fail to kick them out? Well, when you boil it all down, it really came down to a huge imbalance of power. On one side, you had the Indian forces. They were incredibly brave, for sure, but they were also less organized and didn't really have a unified command structure. Plus, the rebellion wasn't happening all over India. Huge parts of the country didn't join in. On the other side, you had the British. They had better weapons and a much more organized, disciplined army, which let them just systematically crush the rebellion, city by city. But, and this is a really big but, just calling the uprising a failure totally misses the point. Its true importance, its real legacy, lies in what came after. It's about the embers it left behind, embers that would eventually grow into the fire of a real, full-blown independence movement. At its heart, its legacy was this. For the very first time on such a massive scale, it showed the incredible unity and courage of Indians standing up together against foreign rule. It was this powerful demonstration of a shared identity, of a collective will to fight back, and that was a huge deal. And that's why its memory became such a powerful source of inspiration for generations to come.
The stories of the heroes and martyrs of 1857, they would fuel the drive for freedom for the next 90 years, all the way up until India finally gained its independence in 1947.
This is exactly why today you'll hear it called the First War of Indian Independence, not the Sepoy Mutiny, which is what the British called it. And that name change is everything, right? It's a total shift in perspective. It recognizes this event for what it was, the first major collective struggle for the very soul of the nation. So I want to leave you with this question to think about. Militarily, sure, the rebels of 1857 lost on the battlefield. But did they maybe win something much, much more important in the long run? A kind of spiritual victory that ultimately paved the way for a free India? What do you think?